Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're digging into a really powerful story from an ancient Buddhist text. It's all about the final days of one of the most important women in the Buddha's life. So this entire story really boils down to that one question. It's a narrative about love, for sure, but also about grief, and a totally different way of looking at what it even means to die. And right at the heart of it all is this incredible relationship between the Buddha and the woman who was, for all intents and purposes, his mother. Okay, so let's get into it. The whole thing kicks off with a really profound choice, a decision made by this incredible woman that just sets everything else in motion. So her name is Mahāprajāpatī, and you have to understand, the Buddha's own mother passed away just days after he was born. It was his aunt, Mahāprajāpatī, who stepped right in and raised him like he was her own son. And later on, she actually followed in his footsteps and became the very first Buddhist nun. Okay, so fast forward. She's now an enlightened being herself, right? And she makes this huge, solemn decision. She looks at the Buddha, she looks at all his great disciples, and she knows they're all going to pass away eventually. And she just says, I can't bear to see that. So instead, she decides she's going to go first, on her own terms. And this is where you really see her influence. I mean, get this. It wasn't just her. 500, that's 500, other enlightened nuns, all of them great disciples who looked up to her as their leader. They heard what she was planning to do, and they all chose to join her. Just incredible. So you can imagine, news of this planned departure. It gets back to the Buddha's closest attendant, his cousin, Ānanda, and he is just completely heartbroken. He runs to the Buddha, and he's a mess. He's like, I can barely stand up. My mind is just a fog of sorrow. And why is he so upset? Well, he's thinking about the woman who nursed the Buddha, the one who raised him when his own mother couldn't. And right here, you see this amazing contrast. Ānanda is looking at it from a very human perspective, right? He's thinking about the physical care, the earthly debt of gratitude. But the Buddha, he completely reframes it. He points to something higher, the spiritual gift he gave her, the path to enlightenment. It's this pivotal moment that really makes you think, how do you repay the biggest debts in your life? Okay, so to really get what the Buddha is saying, we have to talk about this really important idea called Parinirvāṇa. You see, for an enlightened being, death isn't this sad, tragic thing. It's the ultimate release. It's the end of all suffering, the final consummation of everything they've worked for. So it's not something to be afraid of. It's actually the goal. So the Buddha isn't dismissing what she did for him. He totally acknowledges that he owes her for, raising him. But he's saying he paid that debt back in the most powerful way possible. He didn't just give her something for her body. He guided her mind to a place beyond life and death. That, he's saying, is the ultimate way to show you care. All right, so the decision's been made. The Buddha understands. And now, Mahāprajāpatī and the 500 nuns come to say their final goodbyes. And with these words, she pays her final respects, touching his feet one last time. And the Buddha, he says nothing. His silence is just so powerful. It's his way of saying, I accept this. I understand. You're ready. What happens next is, it's pretty wild. The text says they don't just, pass away. They put on this incredible demonstration of their spiritual mastery. They literally rise into the air. They walk, they sit, they lie down, all in midair. Then fire and water start coming from their bodies. It's this whole dazzling display. And only after showing this complete command over everything, then they peacefully enter Parinirvāṇa. It's not a death. It's like a final, masterful performance. So, imagine this. 501 enlightened people all passing away at the exact same time. It sends absolute shockwaves through the community. The regular people, the lay followers who supported them, they are just devastated. And their grief is so raw. They're crying out that the city feels totally empty now, like someone just turned off the lights. They're just wondering, why would they leave us like this without even a word? And here's a great little turn. Ānanda, the same guy who was just a mess himself, now steps up. And he shares the Buddha's teaching with them. He reminds everyone of that core Buddhist idea. Everything is impermanent. Anything and everything you love will one day be separated from you. So this huge, tragic moment becomes this very real, very powerful teaching moment for the whole community. And then, for the final tribute, the Buddha himself takes her relics. He first honors her as a motherly figure. He doesn't forget that earthly connection. But then he says something that is just wow. He says she has abandoned the form of a woman and achieved everything a man can achieve. Basically, she's gone beyond gender, beyond any earthly label, to reach the absolute pinnacle of spiritual attainment. It's this incredible validation. So this whole story leaves us with a really provocative question, doesn't it? We're so used to thinking of death as this weakness or a tragedy. But this text gives us a totally different picture. A death that isn't about being frail, but about being intentional. A death defined by wisdom and, in the end, by a kind of ultimate peaceful power. It really makes you think.